I'll always be grateful for that. Sorry, I didn't expect.
Hey there friends, I had a major realization the other day and I'd like to share it with you in this video. I also got some sad news a couple of days ago that relates to my realization that I'm also going to share with you in this video. But before I do, I need to give you a little bit about my past, explain a little bit just so that you understand. So I had a really traumatic childhood. I went through several traumatic experiences. One of them being when my parents split up when I was 1.5. I was really young, so I don't really ever remember them being together. But what I do remember is the being shuffled back and forth between houses. My mom and I lived in an apartment, and my dad lived at my Nona's in the basement. I went every other weekend to visit my dad, and the problem with that was that my dad was a pretty absent father. He was never really reliable. So every other weekend when I would get dropped off at my Nona's for my dad's weekend, I would go down to the basement looking for him, and usually he was nowhere to be found. He was usually out partying with whatever girl he was dating that week. And then I would end up spending most of my weekend either waiting for him in the basement or hanging out with my Nona. And to make up for it, he would promise me that he'd pick me up during the school week, take me out for dinner. And when he would do that, he'd usually either be late or never show up at all. So I started to feel pretty bad and not really wanted. Then when I was 4, my mom, she remarried to my stepdad, Joe. And that's the wedding picture. I'm 4 years old there. We moved from my apartment to a new town and a new house, and we lived with my stepdad there. And he had 2 kids who came every other weekend, but for the most part, it was me, my stepdad, and my mom. And like, this is not to blame anyone, because I realize now as an adult, like everybody that was raising me, they were really doing the best they could. And they never meant for me to start feeling the way that I did. But I was really young and I didn't understand, so I started to feel kind of like a burden, like the odd one out, kind of like being shuffled back and forth. And it was no one's fault. It's not blaming anyone. It was just how I took it on as a child, and I thought that I was starting, that was my role to play basically, was that I was the burden little girl who was kind of like the odd person out, not really wanted. And a few years after my mom remarried, my dad remarried, and him and his wife moved 4 hours away and started a new family. And so I really started, to feel like maybe I was a burden. And what really sealed my fate sort of in the role that I started to play, like this character as Nicole, the burden who needs to hide and protect herself and be perfect all the time. This day was Halloween. I was 4 years old. I was at my Nona's trick-or-treating. My dad was nowhere to be found, so my aunt took me and my cousin out trick-or-treating. My mom made me this bunny costume and had a hat with ears and carrots on the knees. And this is it. This is me, my bunny costume. And that's the exact day that sealed my fate of the role of Bunny Nicole the Burden. And what happened was, I went in my bunny costume with my cousin. The first house that we went up to, there was a lot of kids on this big porch. But we walked up anyway, me in my bunny costume, and I was the youngest and smallest on the porch, and everybody was sort of pushing and shoving to get the candy. And me already feeling not confident, not really like worthy or wanted, I allowed myself to be pushed off the porch. And I fell in the dirt. And from that moment, I sealed my fate as Bunny Nicole the Burden. And I spent the next several decades trying to be perfect, people please, wearing this bunny costume, so to speak, as Bunny Nicole. Trying to people please, trying to get love and validation from other people, in order to not get pushed off the porch. And the funny thing is, the real me is nothing like Bunny Nicole. The real me is like this fiery, fierce spirit that's stubborn, that never gives up, that always fights for herself. But for some reason that day, I thought I needed to put this costume on and hide myself and pretend to be perfect and put on this persona and this role of this perfect, people-pleasing girl that needed everyone to love her and like her. And as I got older, that one costume, that layer, it wasn't enough. I needed another layer to hide and protect myself. And so I started to use food to cope, which turned into a really big struggle with emotional eating. And it caused me to gain a lot of weight, which then entered my new costume, the costume of weight. And this is what I looked like. The weight caused me to gain 275 pounds at my heaviest. And what happened was this weight costume started to become its own burden because it started to cause me serious health problems. My weight was causing me serious health problems like sleep apnea, so bad that I needed a sleep apnea machine to breathe at night. And I realized if I didn't lose the weight, work through my emotional eating, that I would continue to put my life at risk. So I did. I was able to lose the weight. I lost 130 pounds, kept it off for 7 years, and I worked through the emotional eating, and I was able to remove that costume, the weight costume. That layer, I was able to put to rest. But we get to my realization now. Realized the other day, like, I was able to remove the weight costume, but I'm still being Bunny Nicole. I'm still trying. I've still been wearing this costume. And I asked myself, like, Nicole, why do you think that you have to people please and worry all the time about what other people are thinking? Why are you still wearing this costume? I'm 39 and I've been wearing that bunny costume since I was 4 years old. So that costume's 35 years old. It's probably old and smelly and worn, theoretically speaking, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't need it anymore. And so I looked at it and I realized I am afraid to fully remove the bunny costume because I'm afraid of being exposed. I'm afraid of people seeing that underneath I'm not perfect and I'm not good enough. And I looked at that more and I said, wait a minute. No, I'm not perfect, but no one is, because we're human and we're supposed to be here. I really believe that we're all here to learn stuff. So why would we be perfect if we're here to learn stuff? And so I may not be perfect, but I am good enough. I'm good enough to not wear those costumes. I'm good enough to be the real me. I don't need to be Bunny Nicole or the Nicole covering herself up with the weight. I can just be me and be okay with whoever that is and not need to please people anymore. So I really have been looking at that, and I've been trying to work on removing the rest of the bunny costume. And the sad news that I wanted to share with you is a couple of days ago, I found out that my stepdad, Joe, passed away. His health, it was declining in the last little bit, but his passing was still fairly unexpected. And I am thanking Joe right now because his passing gave me a very big reminder that life is too short and too precious, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life wearing that bunny costume anymore. Whatever is left, I don't want to wear a costume anymore. It's old and tired, and the real me wants to come through. And I'm making this video because I know a lot of you watching can relate. Maybe you wear the weight costume, or maybe the bunny costume, or maybe you have your own, or multiple layers. And I want you to know that we may not be perfect, no one is, but you are good enough. We are all good enough to take off those costumes and not play those roles anymore. We're allowed to be ourselves. We don't have to pretend, we don't have to protect ourselves or hide. We're allowed to be who we are and not worry about what anyone else thinks. We don't need love or validation from anyone because we can give it to ourselves. Just by being here and being human, we are already whole and complete. We don't need costumes to fulfill that. And what I want to do right now, I want to take a moment for anyone wearing costume. and I want us to take them off. So this is me taking off the remainder of my bunny hat and the remainder of my bunny costume. And I just want to say, Bunny Nicole, I know that I thought I needed you all these years. I know I thought I needed you to protect me. And thank you for trying, but I don't need you anymore. I'm okay to be me, and I don't need protection anymore. So thanks, Bunny Nicole, but I'm okay now. And I hope you guys can do that too and know that you'll be okay. And now I want to go back to Joe, my stepdad. We were buds. I referred to him as Buddy Joe my entire life. That's what I called him, Buddy Joe. We were buds, but we also had a lot of years where our relationship was really rocky. We worked through that the last few years, and the last day that Sassy was there, my husband Kyle, the last day that we spent with him, it was like the best time I had ever spent. We were laughing and joking, talking about cool stuff, and it was the best day I ever spent with him. And I know that, yeah, sometimes it was tough, but I know that he loved me, and I loved him too. And he stepped up and did the best he could to be a dad where my dad couldn't. And I'll always be grateful for that. Sorry, I didn't expect. Thank you, Joe. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm really grateful for what he did do for me and for all the laughs. And he taught me about cheesy humor, and Sassy loves my cheesy humor that I got from Joe. And I do want to end the video with a joke, my favorite joke that he used to tell me when I was a kid. And before I do though, I just want to say, anybody that's struggling out there, I hope this video helps you. I hope you truly feel me saying, like, it's okay to give yourself permission to take the costumes off and just be you. And now, wise words of wisdom from Joe. The joke goes, all right, ready? So, I had a dream last night that I was eating a giant marshmallow. And when I woke up, my pillow was gone. That will never get old, that joke. So anyway, rest in peace, Joe. I love you. You're not, in pain anymore. And thanks for everything. I love you, the friends. If you want to know exactly what I ate to lose the weight, I have weight loss guides and a guilt-free cookbook. Use code Nicole. The links are down below. Code Nicole will save you 10%. I'm also sponsored by Hoodled, or HTLT Seps. This is my favorite protein powder of theirs, Luckier Marshmallow Cereal, because I'm a cereal girl. Use code Nicole there to save yourself 10% off as well. Again, I love you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do so you don't miss out on all this super cool content and marshmallow jokes. And check out some of our other videos because they show you how Sass and I have fun, make the journey fun, lose weight, fun weight loss tips, love your life, go. And love you. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next vid. Peace, cuties.
See ya.
Remember, the friends, that weight loss isn't just about the number on the scale. It's also about here and here. Heart and mindset. Fight through it. You can do it. Don't give up.